Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am your host, Aladdin. My apologies. We tried to live stream earlier, but there's something wrong with the setup, so I'm trying a different setup. On today's live stream, the goal is to speak to questioning Muslims. If you would like to join as one of the callers, the link is pinned to the live chat. Now is your chance because we don't have a lot of callers yet, just one that is queued up. So, the purpose of today's live stream is to give you a space to talk about your questions, your doubts, things that have to do with your beliefs. And I could give you information knowing what I know about Islam, but that is not the primary goal here. I'm not the best source of information all the time. I'll tell you what I know, but it's a chance for you to speak up and maybe hear your thoughts out loud, because I know that that is necessary for a lot of people in that in that stage, let's say, or in that situation. So if you would like to join as a caller, link is pinned to the live chat. Now, without further ado, I'm adding the first caller of the day, Anonymous. Hey, Anonymous, how's it going?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Uh, you've called multiple times before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and today, what would you like to talk about?
So I had initially planned not to call this time because I was like, a lot of questions I have already asked you. But then after watching your stream yesterday, I thought that it's better if I join and if I talk about Sharif Gabar and his contribution in my journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Sharif Gaber is an ex-Muslim who makes videos talking about Islam, criticizing Islam, and his videos are very informative. I will post a link to his channel in the description, but his name is Sharif Gaber. Yeah, so go ahead. What did you want to talk about Sharif?
So like I've mentioned before, I was a practicing Muslim. And I come from a South Asian country. So when I was younger, I was forced to wear the hijab, even though I do not admit it most of the times, but it's true that I was forced to wear it. And I remember the first day at school when I suddenly just showed up in the hijab. I remember the awkwardness. I remember my friends giving me strange looks and asking me why have you suddenly decided to put on the hijab. And I couldn't answer because of course I didn't want to say that my family is forcing me to do this. And there's I've worn the hijab for 12 years throughout hot days, days with sweltering heat, because South Asia is a very warm place,
Hmm.
and through hair damage, through even just like a lot of other women who face discrimination once they wear the hijab, I have faced a lot of discrimination. And even after wearing the hijab, doesn't matter how young I was, I did still notice people, men staring at me. It's like how you face eve teasing on the streets. And there's something I would like to give a trigger warning for SA right now to anyone who's listening. I have also been molested while wearing the hijab. And I had very strong faith, and I still kept it on. I have fought for the women's rights to wear hijab. I have been outspoken in social circles supporting the hijab, and I have celebrated World Hijab Day, and continuously faced questions from non-Muslims on why do I wear the hijab. But then, a few years ago, when I moved to a Western country on my own without my family, I got the same questions again. Why do you wear the hijab? And this time I decided to question it through my own perspectives and not through the lens of religion. And I do understand that even in this Western country, when I see Muslim men in public transport staring at me, and I'm not trying to say that I'm a very good looking person. No, definitely not. I'm just trying to say that it doesn't stop the sexual attraction. That's because since childhood we've been told that you need to cover up because of men, and this is your aura. And but the thing is that Muslim men react in a very weird way when they see a hijabi woman. So I grew so tired of this that the purpose that I'm wearing the hijab in the sweltering heat, facing discrimination, getting rejected from jobs. Sorry, I was getting another call. Getting rejected from jobs and facing so much discomfort and spending extra 15 minutes every day getting ready, putting on my hijab, spending money on the hijab. And when I'm outside, I see Muslim men who say salam to one another, Muslim men in beards, and I see that being in a Western country, there are literally half naked women standing next to me in the public transport. But these Muslim men are not even looking at those women. They are staring at me, they're trying to make eye contact with me, smiling at me. And I feel so degraded that the purpose of my hijab is to save me from all of these things, whereas it's having a completely different effect on the men around me. And I got very mad one day, and um, I spoke to some women that I met online, and they directed me to Sharif Gabber's YouTube page. Am I pronouncing his name right?
Uh, Sharif Gaber. Yeah.
Gabber. Okay. So, and I watched his video about the hijab, and my main concern at that point was to understand, does the Quran actually tell us to cover our hair or not? And I watched his video and I was shocked. And I watched his video again and again, and I repeatedly watched it. And I saw that initially hijab was just to separate the more free women from the slave women. And then there was, I think, Umar or some other Sahaba who used to go to the slave trade markets and touch women and see how good they felt before buying them. And I
Yeah,
saw that.
Omar even assaulted women, slave women who wore the hijab, and told them not to dress up like a free woman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the origins of the hijab are ugly, and this idea that we're sold that it's about modesty and it's good for you and all that kind of stuff. I don't think so. It seemed like it was a marker of status, if anything, that women who are wearing the hijab were not, were not property in the same sense that a slave was. So yeah, but you mentioned that what you mentioned is also true, that they would go to these slave markets and just try to see what they can buy and just inspect the slaves. It's terrible.
So, of course, I could never imagine that Islam would support slave trade, and uh, when my entire existence, being a young Muslim woman, was about desexualizing myself, even if I would be covered from head to toe, but I would be wearing a lipstick because I love wearing lipsticks. That would be the only thing that I would do to make me feel good about my looks. And I would still have people stop me and tell me that you're wearing a very bright pink. you are catching attention from men. So I would feel like, why is everything about me about men? Like, it's just a lipstick, and people would even say that you are doing that to attract men's attention. And I would be like, I'm covered from head to toe. You cannot see anything. You literally cannot see anything except for my face and my hands. And you only care about the fact that I'm wearing a pretty lipstick. And that's all. It brings me down to the level of a woman who dresses up for the pleasure of men. Like, what if I like lipsticks? I have loved lipsticks ever since I was a child, and I used to watch my mom put on a lipstick. And I have waited till I was old enough to wear a lipstick and buy different colors. And now this childhood dream of mine is reduced to a sexual fantasy that attracts men, or something along those lines. So, what happened after I watched his video was a complete shock. And Hazrat Umar was somebody that we were told was of angry temperament, but I guess that was the only part of him that we were ever told that was a little bit on the negative side. Rest, he was a very good Sahaba. And I was completely shocked seeing Sharif's video, and relieved in the sense that if I ever decide to take off the hijab, it's not truly there in the Quran. So that's what he has proven in that video, that this was not part of Islam, but it was brought in by people like Umar.
Hmm. There's multiple instances of Omar saying things and then the Prophet making them happen. So I would say even if it was in the Quran, I wouldn't discount the possibility that it was the influence of Omar still. But you're saying as a Muslim who believes in the Quran, or do you still believe in the Quran, by the way?
No, majority of it not. Yeah,
But back then, as a Muslim who believed in the Quran to some extent, it was relieving, you're saying, to realize that the hijab is not mentioned in the Quran.
yes,
Yeah. So that felt like a relief that in case you ever take it off, at least you know that it's not something that is a big component of the religion, or you can't prove that God said that you should wear it.
definitely, yes.
And then how did that change over time? Do you still wear the hijab or not?
No, I don't wear it.
What made you decide not to wear it?
So, I started to feel a bit of a change in my hair, because I was now wearing the hijab. I was working full time. I was commuting 2 hours or so every day. So a total of around 12 hours I was wearing the hijab in a day. And I started to notice that I was having some pain in my scalp. And I was having my hair density was not as good as it used to be. So what I did was I started to look up posts about hair fall due to hijab or scalp issues due to hijab, and I found a lot of women on Reddit and I guess on Quora talk about this issue, that they also um, face the same things, and some of them eventually decided to take off the hijab. And I remember I was at my break at my work when I actually read all of these posts from women. And I remember waiting to get home and take off my hijab. So as soon as I entered my house, I took off my hijab in such a speed and I threw it on my bed, that, my God, this is harming my hair, and this eventually could recede my hairline. Like one of my cousins who wore the hijab for about 8 years or so, she has receding hairline. And once when she took off her hijab in front of us, I saw the receding hairline and I was shocked that, oh my God, you look so good. I never knew that inside the hijab, this is what's happening. And she said that, yeah, I wear the hijab since 8 years, so this is bound to happen. And I was
Is
like,
that kind of damage reversible or is it irreversible?
it's called traction alopecia, and it's reversible to a point. But after that point, it's not reversible. I looked up medical articles. I spoke to my doctor right away about this, and they said that it does happen in some people, and but if you take care of it in the right time, it will recover. But if you keep uh, pulling your hair in that manner, so what we do is, because we wear the hijab, um, we are supposed to put up our hair in a tight bun, and then wear the hijab so that no hair is seen. And when we put up a tight bun, that is what puts a lot of pressure on the hair that's on our hairline, like on our forehead and around our forehead. And since the hair is pulled back for 12 hours or so every day, that is when the hair roots become weaker and they start losing the hair. So
Mhm.
that's the traction alopecia that a lot of people who wear the hijab face. And so I spoke to my doctor about this, and they said that it could happen over time, but it's not started yet. If you already have made aware of this issue, you can try and prevent it from now. So thank God it hadn't started in me, but uh, um, what I had to go through in order to take this decision was to be absolutely sure that it's not haram to take off the hijab. And
Mhm.
Sharif Gabar, he helped me making this decision. And I also read a lot of surahs, a lot of interpretations of the Quran, tafsir, and eventually I decided that, okay, let me try and take it off for one day. Let's see how I feel. And eventually, with time, I'll take a decision. So the first day that I went out without my hijab was exciting in a way that my hair is free, and I stepped out of the house and I felt the wind in my ears. I felt the wind on my neck, on my hair, and it was a completely new feeling for me. I did not even know what my hair looks like in the sunlight because I was only allowed to have my hair out indoors. So I went out and feeling good at this point, but the first man I see walking up on the street, and I felt ashamed. I felt like, oh my God, where do I hide? Where do I cover myself? How do I cover myself? Because that shame just builds inside you all these years that you've been covering up, and suddenly a man sees you without the hijab, and you feel like you are almost committing zina or something like that.
Did you feel naked without it?
Almost, yeah. I remember a lot of women mentioning like that, and that is what I felt because I was trying to hide myself. I was trying to not make eye contact with that man. He didn't even know me. He was just going about his business. But I felt so exposed in that moment, uh, and I was trying to hide my face, like I'm doing something wrong. And I decided to take it slow. Okay, let's see what happens. And when I got on the public transport, noticed no one, absolutely no one bothering me. Muslim men were there. I saw bearded men, and and like being a Muslim, you know, sometimes when you look at someone, you can understand that this person is Muslim. And they paid no heed to me. They did not stare at me. They did not try to talk to me. They did not even notice that I was there. And it was so comfortable and freeing. So, in this sense, the hijab is having a reverse effect of what it's supposed to have. Well, not wearing the hijab meant that men were not looking at me. Wearing the hijab meant that I got a lot of attention.
And how did you get used to that feeling of being perceived by men while not wearing the hijab?
Can you explain?
So you said that the first time you came across a man, you felt very uncomfortable when you weren't wearing the hijab. Um, and then when you took public transportation, men weren't paying as much attention to you as before. But how did you get comfortable with not wearing the hijab in public and being perceived or noticed by men?
So I was still uncomfortable when I got on the public transport, but I kept it in mind that I'm supposed to observe this experience, and I was it took time for me to get comfortable in my own skin. And when people in public transport, they just look at you. It's a friendly locality. People sometimes smile at you. People say hi, and I would feel this discomfort inside, this sort of guilt inside for not wearing the hijab, that people are looking at me and I'm not wearing the hijab. And when it came to the perception of men, um, it was more freeing, I would say, that no one is looking at me in a sexual way, or no one is looking at me in ways that I'm something different, or uh, the very thing that is supposed to keep me safe is making me unsafe. So the
Mhm.
perception of men, it was, in the sense I understood about this, about Muslim men, was that when they see a hijabi woman, they look at her like, oh, I can be in a relationship with her, or I can talk to her and she might be comfortable talking to me because I'm also a Muslim, and we sort of, in a weird way, wife material, I don't know. And that is what makes them approach you or look at you in a more sexualized way and be more flirty with you as compared to other women. So
Mhm.
the creepiness that I felt from men when I used to wear the hijab only came from Muslim men. It did not come from other men. And when I took off the hijab, that creepiness from Muslim men went away because they could no longer identify me as a Muslim woman.
I see. Um, was it creepiness because of how they spoke to you, or just that you were being perceived by them at all creeped you out?
By how they spoke to me, by how they looked at me, you know, we can always tell that a man is looking at us in a predatory or in a sexual way, or if he's looking at us in a friendly way. Even if someone wants to approach you like in a healthy flirtation, with a healthy flirtation, there is a difference between that and difference between someone giving you a sexual look. So what I experienced from Muslim men was sometimes healthy flirtation and sometimes a sexual look. But even if someone wants to be a healthy flirt, you can always sense when a woman is not comfortable, and they still keep approaching you, smiling at you, trying to make eye contact with you. That is what makes us uncomfortable.
I
So
see. Yeah.
something I observed about Muslim men that stopped happening when I took off the hijab.
And did that make you feel safer taking off the hijab?
Yes, it did.
Interesting. So hypothetically, say there were no Muslim men around you in that area, do you think it would have taken you longer to be comfortable without the hijab?
Yes.
That is very interesting. So the presence of Muslim men around you and how they were paying less attention to you now or bothering you less made you more empowered taking off the hijab.
Yes.
That is quite ironic, I have to say.
Hmm. And it came. This was one of the main reasons why I took it off. This, and another was my concern for my hair health. Uh, Both of these reasons, because a non-Muslim coworker asked me, "Why do you wear the hijab?" And in a friendly way, and I answered them. And then they said that, why does your religion only ask women to cover up? Why not men? So I told them that men's hijab lies in the point that they're supposed to lower their gaze. But then it I always knew that was a stupid answer. So ever
But you
since I
didn't have a
was,
better answer for them, right? So even though you felt like it was a stupid answer, you just couldn't give them a better answer than that.
yeah, because that is what my religion taught me, that this is why you wear the hijab, and men's hijab is just in lowering their gaze. And this is saying as though women don't feel attraction to men. That's what you're essentially telling me, that um when you say
Or
that
that
men
I
can
guess
wear.
they could be implying that women don't feel as much or any attraction to men at all, or maybe not as much, but also that women's attraction to men is not dangerous, while men's attraction to women is dangerous.
It's dangerous to the point that it can make men and women sin. So the only way
Mhm.
to avoid that is to cover up women, not tell men that you should control your urges or you should learn to be respectful to women, but cover women up and then men will be fine.
Right. So there's no idea that a woman could be attracted to a man and initiate something. It's always that the man is attracted to the woman, and then I don't know about you, but it looks to me like the woman is viewed as an infant almost in that situation. Like she's just there to be manipulated or used or something. Like she doesn't have enough agency to be the initiator of things.
Yes. So I slowly took off the hijab. I used to still wear it at work because there were a lot of Muslim people in my office, and I felt like, what am I going to tell them if they suddenly see me without the hijab? And I was not comfortable doing all the explanations. And taking off the hijab was a journey. So I started to take it off on weekends. And when I used to go out with my friends, and I took it off, I remember my first weekend when I took it off and I went out with friends. We were having a road trip, and uh, I opened the window of I pulled it down, the window of the car, and I felt the wind in my hair, and I saw what color my hair looks like outdoors. And told my friends that I'm so happy I feel the wind in my hair for the first time. And one of my friends, we were near a river, and one of my friends dipped his hand in the river and threw some water on my head, saying that, oh, you might never have felt river water in your hair too, is that right? And I was like, yeah, that's right. And it was so freeing and liberating, that trip. And the first time I took pictures without my hijab, standing in beautiful locations. And my friends, that group is Muslim, and they are open-minded Muslims, and they were very supportive of my decision. And that is the only group of Muslims who know that I've taken off my hijab. Apart from that, my family doesn't know. My extended social circle, I don't see them that often for them to know. And eventually, I also started taking care of my hair health more since I took off the hijab, because I could see the damage that the hijab had done to my hair. And right now, my hair is much more healthier and denser than what it was when I was wearing the hijab.
I'm happy that it seems like whatever damage the hijab has done to your hair is reversible in your case. I'm glad to hear that. Um, and I'm glad that you had these experiences for the first time. I take it for granted that I'm able to feel the wind in my hair, and I've always been able to feel the wind in my hair. And to reiterate this, I've said this before. The language that we use around this topic is very important because people say a woman is showing her hair,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't say that I am showing my hair if I wasn't wearing a cap right now. I'm just existing. So I I want to highlight that a lot of onus is put on the woman, and it's made to seem as if she's naked without it, and she doesn't get to experience all these things. I'm glad that you now get to experience these things, and I appreciate you sharing this with us, because there are a lot of women and young girls who are in that same situation. And what, I suppose, what words of advice would you have for them?
I would say that the first thing is that I understand if you cannot take off your hijab as long as you're close to living close to or with your family. And but if you have these feelings that you want to take it off, it doesn't make you. Can I swear? Uh, it
Sure.
it doesn't make you a slut. So that's the mentality that we are taught, that if you take off your hijab, you are uh, a sexual woman and you are showing it off. You're showing off your beauty. But the thing is, it is so multifaceted, this whole ideology of the hijab, and it's so messed up that it doesn't matter. Uh, what Muslim men say when a woman puts on the hijab is that, oh, she now looks 1,000 times more beautiful. So, what
Mhm.
is the point then? Let me take off my hijab. If wearing the hijab makes me more beautiful to you, so if our motive is to desexualize encounters between genders, then let me take it off. If this makes
Right.
me seem unattractive to you. So, I would like to tell women that own your body. And if you don't want to wear the hijab, uh, then you're completely right about that. Process how you feel. And it is actually what we've been told about not wearing the hijab in our community is that, oh, it's an advantage since you can just put on the hijab and go out wherever you want. You don't need to wash your hair, or you don't need to style your hair. But as when I stopped wearing the hijab, my time to get ready and get go out has reduced even more, because I don't have to care about putting on the hijab and putting on the pretty hijab clips and matching my hijab with my outfit and all of those things. I just put on my clothes and I go out. And it has become so much easier
Mhm.
than doing all of that. So, what our community tells you about the hijab and not wearing the hijab is a lie. And it is a freeing feeling. Like, your hair is not a sexual part of your body, it grows on your head, for God's sake. So, if someone believes that you're sexualizing yourself by showing your hair, the error is in their judgment, not yours.
I appreciate you saying that to all the women and girls out there who need to hear that, because as much as I could say it to them, I think they need to hear it from a woman who's been in that position. So thank you for being vulnerable today and for telling us all of this. Um, I have a lot more questions for you, but I know that we do have to get to the next caller. So I guess the last thing I'd want to ask you is, how do you feel now, and how did you feel in the past when you come across these campaigns and slogans about how the hijab is a choice and the hijab is beautiful and empowering and all that kind of stuff? How does it make you feel?
So, when you say hijab is a choice, that's just bullshit. It's not. It's not a choice. Because if you have 14-year-olds being told by their parents to wear the hijab, how is it a choice? It's only women say that it's a choice because they grow to accept that. And it's only a choice for a minor fraction of Muslim women, because if they are given a free will that we are not forcing you to wear the hijab, you can grow up and you can decide to put it on, you can decide not to put it on, and then they decide to put it on. That's when it's a choice. But it's not a choice. I see 5-year-old Muslim kids, girls, when they join madrasas, they're supposed to wear a burqa and go to the madrasa. So how is that a choice? And if burqa and hijab is only about desexualizing a woman, then why does a 5-year-old need to wear a burqa? I
I
mean,
mean,
what is the part of her that's going to attract like 5-year-old guys? Or is it going to attract older guys? Like, are we being predatory or what? I don't know. I find that highly problematic to have 5-year-old girls wear a hijab and a burqa. And
that is a question we can ask Muhammad himself, right? What did he see in a child when he married her? I don't know. Um, I can see that some believers might say, well, it's not because the girl is already um, an object of sexual attention, let's put it that way, but just to train her, to get her more used to the hijab so she likes it more as she grows up. What do you think of that?
yeah, that's it. That's why I say it's not a choice.
Mm,
It's an illusion of a choice that if it's pushed on you since childhood, and little girls, they always want to imitate their mothers. Like, I remember when I was young, when I saw my mother wearing a burqa, I would be like, Mom, you look so good, you look so pretty, I want to wear it too. And that's when I from that age itself we are exposed to this idea. And as we grow older, we are conditioned to like it, we are conditioned to accept it, and we are told that this is part of what God wants you to do. And hence you should defend this idea when anyone opposes that. That's why women go out and say it's a choice. It's not a choice. Yes, if you say that it's empowering, in one sense it is empowering that you chose to cover yourself, if you at all did choose by yourself. So you don't have to align to any of the beauty standards that other women are following. You don't have to align to, oh, should I curl my hair? Should I straighten my hair? Should I color my hair? No, you are covered and that's your choice. And you are standing strong on that. So that's the part of it that becomes empowering in that sense, but it only applies if you chose it.
mm.
So is objectively a hijab an empowering choice? No, it's not.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. Because, like I said, I could say the same exact thing, but it is more powerful coming from a woman, especially a woman who has had to go through it. So I appreciate you being here today, and I'm sure so many girls and women out there do as well. And yeah, thank you once again for joining. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Yes, there is one more thing that I want to add. I saw
Mhm.
your live yesterday, and I want to say that you are not alone in the confusion that you're facing. The resentment that you feel towards those uh, pedophilia apologists who support Palestine, that is something that even I, as a Muslim, feel, and I'm sure that a lot of ex Muslims also feel. And I would like to say some. I have an idea about that could help Sharif Gabbar. I don't know how practical or possible that is, but since yesterday you mentioned that you have crossed 30,000 followers, uh, I would say that what if your followers or you start a signature campaign to spread awareness about Sharif and help him get out of Egypt. For
Yeah.
example, there is this
Mm.
Western country, Canada, which I saw some time back that Canada has taken in a Muslim woman who fled one of the Islamic countries, who did not want to wear the hijab, did not want to follow all that. So Canada gladly took her in as a refugee, and now she is free. So, what if we help your following? We take advantage of your following and we start a signature campaign to push some Western country to take him in.
That
Would
is
that be a
something
good
that I'm
idea?
looking into. Yeah, that is something that I'm looking into. I can't give too many details off right now. It's unfortunately a bit more complicated in this case because it's also about his his home country letting him escape more
Yeah.
than another country accepting him. That's not the biggest issue here, unfortunately. So yeah, there's some stuff in the background, but if I can use my platform to get him out, I will. Um, but yeah, we're just working on it at the moment. Yeah, I can't say much,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah, I
And another
appreciate your
thing
concern.
that you asked
Mhm.
yesterday was, should you continue on this path or not? And I would, ideologically, I would say, yes, you should go on and continue on this path, but things are not simple. Just like you said, that it's complicated and there's a lot of angles to it. So I would like to say that we see you not just as an ex-Muslim activist, but we see you as a very good human being. And your community would like to tell you that if the cost is too much on you, on your mental health, on your personal life, on your financial stability, and on your safety as well, so we would want to see you safe and we would want to see you happy. Something
Well, I
that,
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, something that my therapist tells me is whenever I'm facing a difficult decision is to make a pros and cons list. And it gives you a lot of clarity, and it gives you a lot of reason to take a decision that is best for you. And I don't at all mean to be condescending when I say this, but I can sense that you could benefit from therapy. And it is something that, because you have been through such a lot of transformation in your life, and at the moment,
Oh, I already do go to therapy, and I'm open about that. I think that's important. Even if I can talk about my issues with my friends and other people and listen to other people's issues, therapy is still important. So yeah, that's something that I take seriously.
yeah, so that's nice to know. That's nice to know you are already doing that. So there could be, you could continue on this path, and there could still be measures that you can take that would make it easier for you. And I appreciate you for taking a stand for Palestine. There are very less people, and the way that your condition is, it takes a lot of guts to do something like that. And I'm still
Thank
a
you.
Muslim, and I feel
Hmm.
ashamed of the type of supporters that Palestine has, just like you said, Daniel, Hakikachu, and those sort of people. I know how difficult it makes for you to stand up for Palestine, but I appreciate you for what you are doing. And I hope that you continue, but at the same time, take care of yourself.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you again, Anonymous.
Thank you, Aladdin.
Take care.
Yeah,
Have a great rest of your day.
you too.
Bye bye. All right. Thank you to the caller. We still have three more callers, it seems. I just want to read a few comments first. And I want to tell the next caller, by the way, if you want to change your name, feel free to do so because it has changed from Discord to StreamYard. So keep that in mind. Um, Kickno, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. This is a bit sad to read, but I think it's worthy of highlighting. Um, this commenter, please stop defending racism, is saying, I am Sudanese. It is hard to have an attraction to men when you had a clitoridectomy. You don't enjoy sex in the same way as men. So the commenter is talking about female genital mutilation, which is unfortunately very common in a lot of Muslim countries. It's not only exclusive to Islam, but there's even debate about whether or not it is absolutely condoned, but it is not outlawed by Islam, and it is mentioned in not in the Quran, but in other places. So unfortunately, that is a reality that a lot of women have to live through, and hopefully, through advocacy, that is not something that newborn girls have to go through anymore. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, Kelly saying, I wanted to go to Egypt, but now I do not as much. So this was in the context of discussion of men harassing women. Yeah, Egypt is not the best place for that. Men are can be very dangerous towards women in that country. And a bigger problem, as we've all spoken about already, is Sharif Gabir being locked up there, facing 9 years for blasphemy. I wouldn't want to give my money to a country like that. That's one way we can apply pressure to these countries is not giving them money. So I would not recommend Egypt as a destination for tourism right now. Is crab a fish? Thank you so much for the super chat. That is extremely generous of you. And that is their ATM pin. If you have their card, you can go use it right now. 1234. Kick no again. I really appreciate this, guys. And Faris, thank you so much. Um, this commenter is saying, I used to be a watcher of Muhammad Hijab, and well, here I am as an ex-Muzzy. Well, there is hope, people. There is hope. Thank you for being here. Um, that's why I don't like to condemn anyone. There's potential for almost everyone to change their ways. So, yeah, I appreciate it. All right, now going on to the next caller, MK. I hope you're ready because I'm adding you to the live stream now. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
yes,
can
I
hear
can.
you. Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. You can just call me MK. I hope I don't disappoint your viewers that much because my English is not that good. I'm from a Southeast Asian country and English isn't my first language.
That's
So
okay. You sound
yeah.
great to me.
Okay. If at any point of time you can't understand what I'm saying, I believe you can just stop me perhaps. Yeah, I guess so.
Sure. If needed,
Okay.
I'll ask you for clarification. Don't worry.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. So it's my first time doing any sort of live stream actually, so it's pretty interesting for me. I have, I, I, I don't know whether I should just start talking first, or do you have any
Sure,
questions?
yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself, or what do you want to talk about today?
Yeah. So for actually, what I'm interested to talk about today is my confusion, or I don't know what word do I use or how do I say it. So I'm just going to just start from no, it's not going to be a long story, it's a short story from how do I actually end up at your channel lah. So basically
Mhm.
I've never cared much about theology or in a sense religion or anything that's got to do with religion in a sense. I was born a Muslim, and the community that I live in is a very staunch community. They're very staunch believers in Islam. So most of them, they feel that music is illegal and we should not play music. We should not drink. We should not. The rules are it's pretty strong with the rules. Unlike a lot of, I mean, this is my assumption at least, that in the Western side it's more open. Yeah, even though you're Muslim, it tends to be more music is still okay and whatsoever. But for the country that I live in, it's like yeah, yeah, there's someone probably from the same continent as me just commented.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah. So what happened was yeah, the community that I was in was that. So I think as life progressed, after I start looking for jobs, looking for my career and whatsoever, bear in mind I've never given much thoughts about religion. I've always actually followed the prayers. I've always done my prayers together with my family, and I also fast together with my family, though not really fasting lah, but yeah, we might. It's just more for my family's sake, more than anything else. And then actually after that, I got involved in what I would say something very illegal in Islam. So my
Okay.
career choice was something really illegal. It's a big no-no in Islam, which is basically I do own a nightclub and a bar. So that
Oh, okay. You own a nightclub and a bar?
yes,
Did I hear that correctly?
yes, correct.
Okay.
Which serves alcohol and music and everything all. So that was the career line that I got involved in. Uh, so, but
Well,
again,
when you're about to begin that, did it cross your mind that it is haram and that you have to explain it to your family and all that stuff?
obviously I know that it is haram. But because I don't really have much faith on myself, uh, basically I don't me myself I don't have much faith in the religion, as in I don't fully believe it. So I guess I just went ahead with it. There was an opportunity, and then I got involved in it, and then got started, and it became quite a successful club, actually. Why
Okay.
is that? Yeah. So I guess what happened after that is ever since it happened after I just went on the career choice, it makes me, I think, a very good sum of money, and then just went on a career choice. My whole family doesn't know about this, so I think the biggest problem for me is actually living this double double life, whereby at night I actually go to the club and I actually manage the things and then do all those kind of things, and then during the day I'm a full Muslim. I'll say I actually do my prayers and do everything that is required. So, and also I'm the sole breadwinner for my family in that sense ever since I got this job. My family thinks I'm in some shipping industry. So basically, I feel I'm living my life a lie. My whole life is a
Mhm.
lie, at least to my family. So yeah, basically my
And
family
I mean,
thinks I'm in the shipping industry and makes a lot of money, and then that's how I'm able to support them. And
mhm.
yes, I think the biggest issue for me is that I'm living my life as a lie, and then recently my dad passed away. And
I'm
ever since
sorry
my
for
dad,
your loss.
yeah, ever since my dad passed away, I started. That was actually when I actually got into trying to understand religion. I think it's because of the fact that whatever I'm doing is wrong. Uh, then like I pay for my house things, and then I pay for my dad everything. I'll take care of all his finances. I'll take care of my mom finances. So in that sense, the money that they use is illegal money in a sense in Muslim terms.
Mhm.
And then I got a bit worried, so I started researching. If because me myself, I don't believe like the chances for me of a religion existing or not, a God existing or not, I really don't know. I wouldn't say that there isn't. I wouldn't say that Islam is wrong. I wouldn't say that. Nor would I say Islam is right. So I just don't know. And I think that if he was right, then I would have gotten my parents in a lot of trouble. For me, myself, actually, I don't really care, actually. At least not to the point
I
whereby
don't think your parents would be in trouble because they don't know that your money is in Islam, your money is haram, but they don't know that. So your parents are, I think, fine, Islamically even. But you say that you don't care about yourself, so it sounds to me like you don't really believe that there's hell and there's these consequences for not being a good Muslim, or do you?
Yes, I don't really believe, actually. To be fully honest, I don't really, yeah, I don't really believe, actually, on my end. But to say, for me to be so confident and say that it's not true, I think that it's a little bit, it is where I get super confused, actually. And then I started to research. I only started researching a few weeks ago. I started researching more about Islam and everything all, and I think that my biased research led me to the apostates realm of the social media, as in your videos. And I agree with you in a lot of things. I watch apostate prophet also. I disagree. I think I would say that I agree with you a lot more than what I would say I agree with him on. I agree with him on a very specific few things, but the reason why I really wanted to go into your stream is because I like your framework or the mental model that you actually explain, and the the way that you actually explain things and get people to understand stuff better. Of course, me talking to a few ustas and imams is like a little bit. I'll find it a bit useless when I talk to them. I tried talking to them, actually. I didn't talk to them about my situation. I didn't tell them that I own a bar whatsoever. I just ask them more about religion, and the answers that I get is really not convincing. So
Well,
yeah,
there's
I mean,
something I want to say, by the way. What you said earlier that so you don't seem to believe a lot, or maybe you don't seem to believe at all, but you said you can't say confidently that Islam is not true or there is no God and so on. Um, And I'm with you. It's hard to be confident about such a big claim, but that's not because Islam could be because Islam seems compelling or it might be true. It's just because it's a very big task and it's a distraction. Islam has not been proven to begin with. So how could someone put the job on you? You're the one who's supposed to disprove it. That's not possible. How do you prove something that is how do you disprove something that is not provable? So you can never be certain, absolutely certain, 100% that Islam is not true.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I completely understand that.
Mhm.
The other thing that I'm curious about, actually, this is more of a question for you. If you don't feel comfortable answering it, it's fine. I'm wondering, how do you go from a full believer, and then I'm not asking for a full story. I believe somewhere in your YouTube you might have it, but I haven't watched the video yet. But how do you go from a full believer to someone who's questioning, and then to a non-believer? Not your thought processes actually, but more of how do you actually come out to your family, and how was their reaction in that sense, or how were your friends' reaction, or the society that you live in, how were their reactions? If you don't feel
Mhm.
comfortable answering, it's fine, but I'm just curious because there are times that I really feel like just telling my family the truth, but I just cannot push myself to do it.
Well, let me think. It's in the beginning, I found myself withdrawing away from people who were practicing Muslims. Not even before I realized that I definitely don't believe. I just didn't like the reminder, the constant reminder of facing my cognitive dissonance, or the constant reminder of how I'm not being a good Muslim right now. So I found myself naturally putting a barrier between me and people who are strongly practicing. And at the same time, there were people who were not just non practicing, but they would openly sin and do things that I thought were just difficult for me to cope with as a Muslim. So I found myself separating a lot from Muslims, and whether they're practicing Muslims or cultural Muslims. So when the time came for me to um, I guess, be decisive about what I believe and do the research and all that kind of stuff, and then tell people around me. Most of the people were the kind of people who wouldn't judge me for it. There were a few Muslims that I still knew and had as friends. They're the kind that don't really care. They weren't bothered by it. Um, so that was easy. When it came to family, I keep that part a bit more private for their own safety, but I know that that is the part that everyone struggles with a lot more, because it's not just about the consequences of what might happen, or it might be dangerous for some people, but it's not just always about danger. It's also about watching the painful realization that they have, or watching them panic and worry about your well-being, because they see it as, you might be going to hell forever. So I know that that is the difficult part. um, there are ways to do it, but everyone's situation is different. So have you ever spoken to your family about this topic at all?
I have tried a very, very mild approach of talking to them about this. Like, I do ask in a way that I'm trying to seek clarifications on a certain thing. And the moment anything that goes against their belief, anything that sounds even slightly against their belief, for example, I think 2 days ago I had a conversation with my mom about why music is haram, and which scholars say which music is haram, and why, and anything that goes any even slight a little bit against, and my whole family will get very emotional about it. And yeah, they will start talking about and it will be a very emotional conversation. There will not be a logical debate or a logical discussion at all. It will just go full emotional. If I'm talking about my family, my friends are a little bit more understanding, a little bit more understanding. My friends, I think one of my friend knows about what I do. One of my friend knows about what I do, and then he said to me that he was telling me that I better stop whatever I'm doing, because he said that all the money that I'm giving to my family, I think he was the one that started my whole research actually, because he said that all the money that I'm giving to my family or whatsoever will all bring them to hell. And because it was due to the fact that I paid for my mom's umrah. I paid for my mom umrah, and then my friend was saying that that's the worst thing could possibly done. Yeah,
That
and
doesn't make sense. Like even Islamically, so okay, the money you got the money through a way that is haram, which is running a nightclub, but you could have spent that money on other things. Like you could have bought a fancier car or something, or you could have spent that money on food, but you spent it on something that, from a Muslim's point of view, is good for her. Like she went to Mecca, she got to travel, she got to do Hajj or Umrah. How would that be worse than you spending the money on other things? How is she complicit in any of this?
yeah, I guess I understand your point in a sense of an outsider point of view, but for Muslims, I feel scared to say this. I feel nervous to say this, but I feel that for Muslims, what is logical or not doesn't matter so much to them as it matters to the outsiders. So they think that, or at least they believe that this certain way of doing things is wrong. It doesn't have to have any logic in it. And then they will say that's how I'm going to end up at hell, or actually me going to bring my family to hell. So I think these kind of things, though, on a logical perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. But if I'm following what the people in my community or some of the imams in my community, what they are saying, or at least my friend who is a believer and practicing all out believer, the things that they say to me sometimes, a lot of things they say to me is actually illogical, from the fact that I cannot listen to music. A lot other things to me is a lot too too little logic. So I'm actually finding the fine ground on the middle ground on how do I actually not get them to worry about me too much, to be a little bit more relaxed, and also me to not be too much on living a double life, a completely fake life. At this point, it's completely fake life. No one in my community know me for the person I am, and yeah, I'm living a complete lie. And then I see how you actually come up online and how you do all this thing. I believe you've gone through your fair share of struggles with your friends and everything. I always confuse how at least open non-believers or do it actually, how they actually progress from being a believer and then are open with their opinions or not believing. I've always find that very intriguing in that sense.
I understand what you're talking about. I mean, I feel the same way about. I'm more open than I used to be, but there are people who are even more open than I am, in some ways, and I look to them the same way that you probably look to me, and you think, how did you do this? Everyone's situation is different, and don't feel like you are not doing enough for yourself just because someone else is handling it differently. Um, the environment might be different. The people in their life might react differently. Their need for support from those people might be different. But I understand where you're coming from, and I get that it takes a toll to live a double life. You mentioned something about how nobody in your community knows who you really are. How does that make you feel about who you really are? How do you view yourself?
I think I'm living constantly in fear. It's like I try to hide my phone. Try to hide everything from everyone. So even like a simple task like sending my mom to meet her friends the other day, I had to check my cars, make sure there's no evidence of whatsoever. I have to check my car to ensure there's no evidence of anything and whatsoever that shows that I'm constantly living my life in complete fear, but not complete fear of hell, but complete fear of my family finding out about this whole thing. And it's something that my friend said to me, and I believe that it's true. He said that it's a matter of time before you get caught. And it it's a constant fear for me. At some point, I feel like just dropping everything I'm doing in terms of, because to me, money is not that important in that sense. So, dropping everything in terms of this whole career path that I've chosen, I want to drop all those things. But if I drop those things only for the fact of religion, it's nothing got to do with my morals. I find that people coming to the bar and have fun and drinks with their friend, I find it totally. I find that it's totally fine, and it's not that I encourage alcoholism in that sense, but I do encourage a good time and everything all. And one of the key things that people come for there is the alcohol. Uh, yeah, and definitely I can't lie that the money that it makes me is good and it's able to support my family very well. In fact, so actually giving up on this is actually it will be a very big toll on me. I think I resonate quite well with what you said yesterday. Should I just give up all this and everything all and then go back? For you, is that you feel like you're doing something for at least the ex-Muslims community or the people that needs a voice. So you put money in the second place and then at some point you just confused, like I'm doing this all for my family. I'm doing this to take care of my mom. I'm doing this to take care of my grandparents. I'm doing this to take care of even some of my brother's kids as well, who he cannot. I'm able to fund their
Mhm.
education. I'm able to do a lot of good things with the money that I get from here. In fact, I even managed to donate money to the war. I mean to uh, the things that is happening in Palestine and everything all. So the amount of good things that I'm able to do with the money is a lot.
So
But
let
yet,
me ask you this then. Let's make it solution oriented. So you don't necessarily feel bad about owning a nightclub. You
yes,
feel
correct.
bad that you're lying about it, and you feel bad that you're hiding your personality, and that you live in fear of being caught, and that your family would view it very, very negatively if they found out, and they might even feel like they're doomed by extension because of the money. Um, so those are the problems here. Is it possible for you to switch your line of work? That way you don't have to completely come out to them, or you don't have to tell them that the money is haram, but then you can still be a non-practicing Muslim, but at least you're not as worried about getting caught with the other stuff.
Yes, I've thought of that many times actually. But then in that sense, I do care about money in that sense. I would take a huge pay cut if I were to do that. Uh, I mean, yeah, I'll take a huge pay cut in that sense. The lifestyle that my family is living now and the lifestyle that we are having now, the whatever full-time job that I'm able to find in my country is not going to be able to support that. Put it in perspective, the full-time jobs in my country pays an average of 1,000 to 1,500 USD a month, and owning a nightclub in this country gives me about 50,000 to 80,000 USD a month. So the pay cut
Oh,
difference
wow.
is
Yeah.
huge for me to is huge for me to actually. It's a very big contemplation. It, by
Well, if
extension, it
if
funds
if
a
it's
lot of
that
things. Yeah.
much, aren't you able to save up in a few months and then not just take a pay cut and work a regular job, but find a way to make this much money in a different field? Because if you can save some money, maybe lower the standard of living for your family a little bit, and then find a way to make maybe half that money somewhere else.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. I think it's something that is possible. I've definitely been trying out a few different businesses. I find the job that you're doing actually very amazing. Actually, maybe I won't go into uh,
Oh,
yeah,
but if you do this, you're not going to
very
make
fulfilling.
50,000 a month, not even 50,000 a year. So yeah, yeah, keep that in mind.
Yeah, so I guess that
I'm in the wrong line of work. I should close up and start an ex-Muslim nightclub. And yeah, anyone wants to find me, I'll be at the bar. We can have this conversation there. Um, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I guess okay, I'm very thankful that you're listening to me very well. It's very hard to get that kind of people in my community. Even the therapies here are sometimes quite skeptical of actually. So and I feel bad that this turned to somehow a therapy session. I'm actually I guess essentially I'll be able to sort things out on my end. I just want people to, or actually I just want to let the story out more than anything else. That this is the current contemplation I'm facing. This double-edged life. How is it? Is it fair? Because I believe a lot of ex-Muslims is living a double-edged life as well. So I'm actually genuinely curious how there are the ones that are open like you, but I think majority of them is living a very discreet life, in a lot of fear, and probably even towards their family and their friends. Their family and friends probably knows them less compared to everyone else, or at least knows them the least. It's a very weird thing to be in. That usually, for most people, your close friends are the one that knows you the best. But in my context, I think probably you know me more than most of my family and my friends at this point, just after sharing this with you. Yeah. So I'm actually very curious how the ex-Muslim deal with this double-edged life as well. And I think essentially if I were to share my perspective on it, having gone through it myself, I think essentially is that sometimes for the greater good of the community, we just do this so that at least our family feels at ease and our friends feel at ease. That's what at least I try to do to get my family and friends to feel at ease. I still go through with the prayers, go through with all the things that they expect of me. But that's how I believe. I'm not saying that it's the correct way. I'm just saying that that's how I deal with it, and I actually have to switch myself in my at home, where I live, and when I go to work, and when I go for holiday, I'm a complete different person. So I disconnect myself from the fact that I'm a Muslim, and then I just enjoy myself as it is. But when it comes to, I think it's a great dilemma that most people have to take on as an ex-Muslim. Whether you should come out to your family, whether you should tell the truth, or whether you should just leave it as it is. I think it's a great dilemma, and I've always been intrigued at how you guys do it and how people actually go about it. I think
Yeah,
that sounds
like I said, I
nice.
can't share too many details of my story specifically, but that's the thing. If you listen to all of these live streams, a lot of people in the same situation, they tell you what happens with them. But again, everyone's different. You have to weigh the consequences of coming out to your family, and to me, like you said, you know what you need to do. You know that this is complicated. I empathize with you, man, and I hope that you find a way to be yourself and provide for your family. Um, yeah, that's a tough position to be in for sure.
Right. Thanks so much. I think before I end, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Yeah, the one more thing is, I think, as the girl before this spoke to you about it, about what you said yesterday that you feel like giving up. One thing I just want to add is that, yeah, I truly respect you. I respect the mental toughness that you have, going through with all of this. People saying all kind of things about you, and you still go on and you still do what you think and what you believe is right and what you believe that is good for people. I think essentially that is what I really respect about you. And on top of that, you know how to have different opinions for different matter. You don't follow the herd mentality that, oh, I'm in this ex-Muslim group, I have to think this way. Or you don't just adopt the opinions of people in your, at least who shares the same side as you. Because I see a lot of people actually do that. So if they go and they become ex-Muslim, all of them adopt this one mentality. And if you're a Muslim, you adopt this one mentality. And if you're this, you adopt this. I think what you do alone and actually say your opinions for what it is really amazing. And on top of that, I think that your English is very good. The way you frame your arguments and the way you frame your uh, debates or your discussions, it's very understandable, and that's why I think I'll probably continue watching you for and continue following you for the next quite some time actually until I
Well,
get my conscience clear.
thank you so much for saying all that, and I'm glad to know that I'm able to help you in some way with, even though it's not directly with your predicament, but I'm glad that what I'm doing is reaching to you, and yeah, thank you for saying that. And if you need a bouncer, hit me up, because for 20K a month, I'll do a very good job as a bouncer. I promise you that. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm joking. Maybe, kind of. I don't know. DM me. Anyway, jokes aside, thank you again for joining and for telling people. And I hope that you find a way to deal with your situation.
Okay, thank you so much, Aladdin. I think you are very good listener as well. Finally, I'm able to share something so openly with someone, and it's weird that it's in front of basically hundreds of people. It's very interesting that it is the first time I'm able to say something like that and
Well,
actually be out.
yeah.
The,
In some
you
ways,
know,
it might be easier, right? Because like you're anonymous right now. You get to tell me this, but I'm happy that you can say that now.
another funny thing is that the best friend I had to actually discuss all these things is actually ChatGPT. So I actually do have discussions with ChatGPT about this. It's a very interesting thing that I have to resort to that.
Well, I hope I did a better job than ChatGPT on this.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. And take care. Have a great rest of your day or night.
All right, thank you.
Bye bye. Thanks again to the caller. Um, wow. Yeah. So it's it's very flattering and humbling to think about how someone would not have had the chance to talk about these things at all had they not found the live stream and had they not clicked at the right time. And see, this is why I don't feel ashamed anymore asking people like, subscribe, leave a comment after the live chat, leave a timestamp, all that stuff, because it helps more people find the channel. It helps more people witness these moments, and more people have these moments of their own. So thank you all for making it happen. So I'm gonna bait you right now, sympathy bait you. Click that like button if you haven't already. All right, so we still have a couple of callers, but I want to read some super chats first. So Data Ray, thank you so much for the super chat, and they're saying that we can help Sharif. Let me know if I can contribute. I have resources that help get people out of Arab countries before. I am already in contact with this person behind the scenes, so thank you very much. Let's see. Bilal was saying, I found this funny. Bilal was saying, why is there a live now? I need to study. And this other commenter said, if you're on this live, you're already smart. So don't worry, you'll ace your test. But I object to that. I think stupid people can enjoy this live stream too. Be careful of othering, and in-group and out-group bias. Don't think that everyone who likes this channel, or everyone who watches these live streams, those are the smart people. The other ones are stupid. No, stupid people can be here too. We have a lot of stupid fans. So yeah, I'm just joking. Thank you so much, Kikno, for the super chat, and Logan Fisher. I appreciate it a lot. And Just KV was saying, I'm a questioning Muslim. I have to fake being religious. I feel like I can't be honest with anyone. The feeling is so horrible and scary. I feel bad for everyone in the same situation. I actually found your channel, and that helped me a lot. I used to think that I was a bad person for not believing. You changed my whole perspective. Thanks a lot. That is so heartwarming, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. It helps me more than you think. So thank you so much. And Tandre sucks. Thanks for the super chat. They say, for a tea/coffee/cocktail or whatever helps you stay sane, wishing you peace. You know what? Today I bought cat food and a little like feeder puzzle for the cats. So this goes towards that. So thank you. And reminder from Kikno to mention at the end of the live stream, like, comment, and subscribe. Way ahead of you there. Already reminded them. Let's see. Dill Pickles, thank you so much for the super chat. 158 Hong Kong dollars. Is that it? I'm assuming. So generous of you. thank you, A, for hosting this, and thank you, everyone, for sharing their experiences. It makes us feel like we're not alone. And the last question I'm going to answer before getting to the next caller, uh, Papin Brady's asking, tell us about your video/audio setup. What camera and mic do you use? Any other special equipment besides a computer do you need to stream? So there's some stuff that I can't tell you about just because it's part of what keeps the stream going in a way that can't be sabotaged. So there's stuff behind the scenes, but what I'm using right here, this mic I bought off of the internet. Not a very fancy mic, not even a very well-known brand. I can't tell you the brand so you don't know where I live, but it wasn't an expensive mic, and I think the proximity of it to my face makes the audio sound clearer, so there's not as much amplification needed. And that's something that I realized with a lot of mics is because I wear a mask, I need the mic to be very close to my face. And this has been broken for a couple of years now. Look at it, so limp, but it does the job. So it's been the same broken mic I've used for a couple of years, and I can't complain. It's great. As for the camera, it is a shout out to the subscriber slash Patreon supporter who helped me get this camera. They just sent me their camera. That was very nice of them. It is a Canon. Let's see. I forgot. It's slipping my mind. It's like one of those mirrorless DSLR cameras. It's great for this kind of thing. So it's always the one that I use as a webcam. Other than that, it's the computer and yeah, a couple of other little things. So I'm glad it looks good. Thank you. Okay, so I hope that the next caller is ready. Dhul Qarnayn is the next caller. Great reference. I'm adding you to the live stream now. Hey, Dhul Qarnayn, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Can you hear me
Yeah.
well, or do you need me to?
No, you sound good. I think I can hear your exhales sometimes, but other than that, I
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a bit about yourself and why you're calling today.
Yeah. So I'm calling because I still think I'm a Muslim. I'm not really 100% sure because like I might be more like just agnostic, but yeah. So I was born and raised Sunni Muslim, Hanafi for the madhab. I like to, work out, with weights, play video games, own a PC, shit like that. But as of recently, for like the past few months, I became really religious. Like right before last year at Ramadan in 2023, it was kind of like where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop all this, like nonsense, acting like a kafir, being a disbeliever. So that's when I really got on my deen, as they say, or I started praying 5 times a day. And that Ramadan, I really went hard. Like I prayed 5 times a day, went to the masjid every Friday prayer, fasted. Even after that, like after Ramadan, I did like voluntary fasts, fasting every Monday and Thursday. Because, the hadith where like Allah like reveals your like good deeds on Monday and Thursday. And the Prophet was born on a Monday, Rabi' al-Awwal or something. But yeah, I was doing that. And then like I was just like researching, and I've seen all this kind of like these ahadith. It's mainly ahadith that are kind of just like, that makes people question. It's not really. I mean, there are some things in the Quran as well, like Surah An-Nisa, and the verse where like the wife beating verse, that and stuff like that. But it's also like ahadith is where I was starting like to realize I was like, what the hell is this kind of shit? Like I'm living in 2024 and somebody's telling me that like if I want to, get paradise, I need to donate 1 sa or something and, dates or something. I'm like, how does that compare? So I'm like, just those little things.
And how many Bitcoin is that? Like
right? Like I don't even know what a sa is. And then I see like, sites like Islam Q&A, which is freaking horrible if you actually like, but yeah, they're saying, yeah, it means this and, donate this and that. And then like, basically I agree with Dill Pickles, but yeah, like it's just stuff like that. So then I started doing more research and I started finding out, that like, the Prophet, enforced people to like start teaching their kids to pray at 7 years old and separate their beds at, was it 7 or 10? I can't remember, but and if they disobey, you beat them. And I'm like, whoa, why is this guy condoning child abuse? It's bad enough he married a freaking 6-year-old, right? And so like then I started watching like, Mufti Abu Layth, and like he's like a progressive like Muslim scholar, and he's a Mufti, so he can make like fatwas. So technically he's like an accredited scholar according to like some Muslims, but most Muslims dislike him because they think he's like a kafir anyway. So, but through him I learned where like, Hajj like is pagan or has pagan origins, and then there's other stuff like the aqiqah, like when the baby's born, like they do this little like ritual, like you know what I mean, like they do the circumcision or whatnot, and then that's also came from paganism as well. So then it's like, oh, then why is it haram to say Merry Christmas when we do aqiqah, which comes from pre-Islamic jahiliyyah, so it's like just these things like reason and just stuff like that, and it's like, why would God create us only to throw us in hell? Just basic questions like that is basically like why I'm questioning.
Well, let me ask you this. So you mentioned a lot of things that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that make Islam suspicious to you. Is that correct?
I guess, yeah, you summed it up. Yeah, that's pretty much because, yeah, like I was taught like when I was, younger, like because I've gone to, Saturday school every Saturday and learning Quran, but I was just taught like, yeah, this is the perfect religion, it's uncorruptible. And, I even looked at like hadiths about, the day of judgment, eschatology, the final days, and, the beast of the earth and stuff like that. And then that's kind of like where I kind of held most of my faith, because it was like, if he's a prophet, how can he be wrong? Like he said that people were going to be like, building skyscrapers, and, women were going to start wearing less, and they're going to have the camel hump hijab or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that's something like it's what's keeping me within the fold, because, he kind of like predicted it. But now that I'm hearing, like I'm watching videos like from like Abdullah Samir, friendly ex-Muslim, and he's like, yeah, well, anybody can make a prediction like that. I was like, yeah, true, because oil money and all that. But yeah, like,
well, let me ask you this then. So yeah, we've got a bunch of reasons that make Islam suspicious, and you said what kept you in the fold was these vague predictions about what would happen in the future.
yeah.
So aside from these two aspects, if you just make those disappear, if somehow I told you all of that doesn't exist, what else in Islam is compelling to you?
Wife beating verse.
What else? No, the other way around. What else keeps you in Islam?
I think just the existence of a God, because I mean, if it weren't for like Deen, I'd probably be like just a full-on agnostic, to be honest, or like maybe even a deist. Like I wouldn't really believe in revelation. But yeah, I mean, like I just feel like maybe it's the fitra part that everybody's born with, just a monotheistic belief. I don't know. I maybe, I don't know, maybe I just more inclined to believing in a God rather than, just a convinced atheist, I guess.
Well, that's really a false dichotomy. I think that theists always they put you on the spot, and they're like, okay, so well, if you have questions about Allah, then who created you? Then how did all this happen? And they ask you these big questions, and they say, well, if you can't prove to me that you're not an atheist, then that's a weak position. But you don't have to take a position on the God question at all, just because you're taking a position on one religion.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like, yeah, maybe like I might lean more towards like deism, because like I believe in a God through like reason and logic, but I can't really like. I'm suspicious of like, like just the hearsay from men, like, oh, Paul wrote the gospel or whatever. He preached that Jesus was God, and then there's the Sahaba, the companions, saying that Muhammad said this and that, and it's like we're all just getting this through hearsay. Like we never seen God or Allah before, like we like we're all just hearing this through men who had the privilege to meet God or hear God, but we don't.
So it sounds to me like you have a lot of things that make you not want to believe. Do you think if you were outside of all of this, if you weren't born into Islam, do you think you would still be struggling with all this? No? I didn't even have to finish the question.
Exactly. Yeah, because I live in the West, the US, but if I weren't like born a Muslim, I don't think I'd ever like convert to Islam. I'd probably just be like an agnostic, or probably just like a Sunday going type Christian. But yeah, man, like I just don't know. Maybe it's my beliefs are also watered down by the kuffar here in America, according to UK Muslims. But
Yeah, see, I hear that self-questioning in a lot of things that you say, and I don't blame you. You know, the whole like back and forth, like from the Muslim perspective, maybe it's fitra, maybe it's the fitna around me, maybe it's whatnot. But from my perspective, there's also this and that. It's such a struggle, isn't it? That you're always having to look at everything from multiple angles.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't until like recently, yeah, where I also started to look at it through multiple angles. I'm like, okay, well, believing in the eschatology where, Muslims are going to kill the Jews and Jesus is going to come back and reestablish the Khilafah. And then he's going to have Imam Mahdi as his right hand man. It's like, I thought Muhammad was the final prophet. Why is Jesus coming back? And why do we even have a Mahdi? And it's like, but yeah, like, I just, but yeah, I do. I agree. Like, I forgot what you said. I was rambling. I'm sorry.
I kind of forgot what I said. That's
Yeah,
okay. So
my bad.
yeah, so right now would you call yourself what would you label yourself as when it comes to religion?
Maybe like a half. I don't know, like a half Muslim, half deist. Because because I mean, I know like you're not supposed to say like, oh, I'm a atheist Muslim or whatnot, because that doesn't really make any sense. But I mean, like, you can be Muslim culturally. So I mean, I guess it's just I'm a cultural Muslim, but also a deist /
Mhm.
maybe agnostic. I don't know.
It sounds like a lot of shirk to me, but no, I get where you're coming from.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, like I don't really research these terms because I kind of don't care. But I mean, like,
yeah.
it wasn't until recently where I just started, questioning Islam and just looking at things from a different perspective. Because like back then when I was practicing, it was like I'm never gonna look at an ex-Muslim's content because all they do is spread lies and all they can say is Aisha was 9, but like that was in Bukhari, so Bukhari's like the next in line after the Quran. But
Mm. Well, let's look at it this way. What do you appreciate about the Muslim part of your label or identity?
maybe just like giving in charity. That's pretty much it.
Mhm.
Because like everything else is more of like, don't do this and do that, don't do that. Like from what I've been taught. Because like I don't know, it's just like I was also like raised in the West, so like while I'm fasting during Ramadan, everybody else was kind of just doing their own thing and not fasting, and it's like I like that Muslims use bidets. Yeah, but I think that came from like India or something. But yeah, but yeah, just like maybe just giving in charity. Like I like how like zakat is kind of wajib or like obligatory, but then again, like I kind of disagree that it has to be obligatory. But I mean, I feel like that's the only good thing I can think of at the top of my head.
Well, aside from, I'm not just asking what are the good things in Islam. I'm saying you said that you're a cultural Muslim, or I'm not just
Well,
holding you to
now I
that
am,
label.
yeah, but
Yeah,
like,
whatever that label is, that there's a Muslim part of you. Can you
yeah.
describe that Muslim part of you?
Well, I believe in one God. I don't believe in like him having a son or anything, but so I guess, and then I also like, I guess I somewhat like still believe that like Muhammad may have like been visited by some kind of entity, but I don't know if it's like, if it was just epilepsy or he was hallucinating or, whatnot. But I mean, like, if he could possibly maybe be a messenger, I'm not really sure. But I feel like the only thing that's making me a Muslim is just pure tawheed or monotheism. But I am having doubts about the prophet and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to accept that, but that's basically what I believe.
Oh yeah, it's not a difficult question or like meant to trap you or anything. I'm just curious to know when you say I'm part Muslim, what does that look like? What does that mean
Yeah,
that
maybe
part.
it might be better to just say like a pure monotheist, if anything. But then again, Muslims love to claim themselves as pure monotheists, so it's like, okay,
Well, I'm torn. I could take this in one of two directions. We could talk about your monotheism, or you could answer a couple of questions that people have had for you in the live chat. Which one do you want to do?
sure, I'll answer the questions.
Okay. So Wandle Rabbit is asking, fear and of torture and eternal punishment. How do you feel about that?
That's still something I struggle with, because I mean, I'm not practicing anymore. So it's like, oh, well, if you leave off prayer, like you're basically just hellfire immediately. So it's like fear and torture and eternal punishment. I feel like, logically, like some people will tell you that, yeah, like, there is a punishment or whatnot in the afterlife, but Jahannam isn't eternal. So there's arguments saying that hellfire isn't like forever. I think even Ibn Taymiyyah said that, like, renowned like Salafi scholar said that hell wasn't eternal. But like even then, it's like the way Islam makes it seem, it's just like you don't want to go there. But yeah, I mean, sometimes like I still have that fear come up every now and then. But then again, like I did see a video by Genetically Modified Skeptic about him going to like different places or like scholars and hearing about religions, like hell in Buddhism, hell in Christianity, hell in Islam, hell in Hinduism. So it's like, I mean, that kind of made me less afraid, but like, I guess we'll just have to find out.
Okay. That's one way to look at it. And just keep in mind that I'm not asking you these questions to get you or anything. I think people are just curious to know.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Do you expect life?
Because it's yeah. I also have these questions myself because as someone who's, I guess, is more decisive about it, and not to say that you're indecisive, but I've reached somewhat more of a definitive conclusion about it. I am always curious about the in-betweeners. How, what do you believe and how did you reach that point? Because I couldn't do the same thing. So I'm just curious about where you are. Like, this is also a good question. What do you expect? Do you expect life after death?
I used to. Like I used to think about it a lot. Like, I used to think about like life after death.
Oh, don't pay attention to the stream. It's just me and you.
Yeah, but
forget the comments.
I don't know. Like right now, I don't have a definitive answer. Like if you were to ask me like 6 months ago, I'd tell you, yeah, definitely, bro. We're gonna get questioned by Munkar and Nakir in the grave. They're gonna ask, who's your prophet, who's your God, what's your religion? And it's like, oh, I can't have a buddy standing outside of my grave shouting the answers. But I mean, like, to be honest, like, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of like Mufti Abu Layth's theory where he says that, oh, it could be just like consciousness and everything about Jannah and the Quran is just metaphorical. So, I mean, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if like there's nothing, we just degrade to dust, or like maybe we might just get our consciousness might come back to life, but our bodies aren't. So I'm not really, but hell and heaven, I don't really, it's not, maybe that's not something that I'm particularly taking an interest in anymore. But I mean, I guess we'll just see down the line.
The way that you say that we'll just find out, I guess, or we'll just see. Does it not scare you? I mean, to me, that implies that you're not scared of finding out whatever it is.
I mean,
it's not necessarily that we'll see. It's almost like that it won't be that scary.
I mean, because we just have to find out, right? Like, I mean, I feel like I can also like, I can kind of see myself getting afraid also because like, like I said, like the hadith and, just like what the Quran says and, stuff like that. Like I still kind of hang on to it, but then again, I also like wouldn't be surprised like if I die and nothing happens, or like I'm just not.
You wouldn't be there to be surprised.
Exactly. Yeah, but I wouldn't. But like if I get thrown in hell, then I'll kind of be like pissed off because I'd be like, yo, what the fuck? If you send this guy that like, you know what I mean? So it's like, come on, man. Like, how can this, like I thought.
This is so funny because, I have conversations with some Muslims who say, they ask me, like there was a caller who asked me, what would you do if Allah showed up, or, if you get resurrected? and
You'd say
I
the
don't
same
say what you
thing,
say.
wouldn't you? You'd be
Not to
like,
the same extent. I'll just be baffled. I'll be like, "Yo,
yeah,
so give me the answers then. What was all that about?"
like,
But it's
right? Like,
funny to yeah, it's funny just to see you be like, "What the fuck, man? Like,
why would you
that's not
send
cool."
somebody, yeah, like 1500 years ago and you're God, right? So you know everything. Why would you send
Mhm,
some guy 1500 years ago who happens to be more handsome than Prophet Yusuf to, marry a 6-year-old and have sex with her at night? Why would you do that? Like, 1500 years later, now we're like questioning, being like, hey, is this guy even worth it? Like, I don't think God would ever do that, to be honest. Like, if God was real, like, he wouldn't. I don't know about Islam. Like, that's also like one thing that kills me. Like, it's the reason why I'm questioning. It's just like stuff like that. And then, wife beating, the Quran can't be changed. So we can only interpret it differently. So, oh, this word daraba, it means to strike away. It's like, man, come on. You're just doing mental gymnastics around it. And it's really like off-putting. And it's like, it just made me like just distance myself and become more like cultural Muslim rather than just practicing in
mhm.
all reality.
See, that's something that got me as a questioning Muslim too was, say it looks suspicious, like there's a lot of things that look suspicious, but it's actually not suspicious and there's an answer for it. Why would you make it look suspicious in the first place? Like, what kind of trap is that? It's even if there's an answer for why Muhammad did what he did or why Allah made it seem suspicious, like it seemed like God wants us to fail, maybe.
Yeah, and
Um,
then like I don't know if you've heard about a hadith or something, or I don't know if it's a hadith or some scholars might have said this, but when they ask like people who never heard about Islam, like, just islanders living on their own, like once they die, what's gonna happen to them if they never heard about Islam? And then Allah's gonna raise up a wall of fire on the day of judgment. He's gonna ask them to jump in it, and if they do, that means I would have accepted Islam. If they don't, that means
mm,
they reject. So it's like, okay, so either way, God knows because He created the pen and paper 50,000 years ago, right? And it's like,
yeah, what's the point of all this? That's
yeah,
See, I don't think I've heard of that hadith, or I don't recall it in fresh in my memory of that hadith about God testing those people. But I've always had that question of, what
yeah,
about people who haven't heard of Islam? And that's kind of a
yeah.
cop out that I hear a lot from Muslim apologists, which is, but wait, people who didn't hear of Islam, they're going to be judged differently, and
Or they
that
didn't hear
also
about it in
includes
the proper way. Like if you're just a white
exactly,
guy chilling on your couch, on September 11th, and then you hear, oh, Islam says this, and then you get turned off by it. So then you die and then you go to hell. And it's like, oh, the only thing that I
yeah,
found out about Islam was 9/11 or, something on TV, like, what about
yeah.
those people? Like, is it their fault that they have a negative opinion about Islam? Like,
No, well, that's yeah. Like I said, the answer is, well, those people aren't counted as those who received the correct message, and so on.
yeah, that's what
But
apologists are
then,
saying now. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But okay, say it's that person or someone who hasn't heard of Islam at all or whatever. But then they do some kind of test in the
Mm,
afterlife, right? Like
mm.
God figures out somehow, had they existed on Earth and heard of Islam, would they have joined it or not? Then what's the point of all of this? Like, it's almost like it's predetermined that that
Exactly.
person would have been a kafir, would have been a Muslim. And again, is it just about the belief part? Is it about their actions? Is it about, are they a good person? Is it just, would they have been a Muslim or not? Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
that
kinda like
confuses me.
maybe like to me it sounds like did maybe just God did this, just to simulate like his new creation. He's like, yeah, like I created this brand, this brand of human that's gonna originate from Arabia and they're gonna come out with their own religion and I'm gonna make it the proper religion, but the rest of the world is also gonna go to hell that, even though I created them. So it's kinda like what kind of,
Mhm.
I don't mean to, slandered. I mean, like, what kind of like God would do that? Like just it's kind of like I've also
Wait,
always
finish that thought. You don't mean to slander God,
like I
or are
mean,
you?
yeah, like because like what kind of sick individual or thing, like would kind of do that? Because it sounds pretty sadistic. That's like I used to think about it this way when I was younger, like because I would have these kind of thoughts too, which is kind of weird. But I mean, like I think like me, being a human, if I were to pick up like one ant off the ground, if I were just playing outside and I were to crush it and then let the other three live, I'm basically like I have their lives in my hands. I like if I used to think like maybe I was kind of like playing God because I can just decide their fate right then and there. But anyway, I don't know who Jeff
So,
Lebowski is, but thanks.
um,
But yeah, I just used to do those kind of
I don't think
experiments.
that's slander necessarily. I wanted you to finish that thought because I kind of knew where that was going. I
Yeah.
think it's slanderous to accept that God is that sadistic and angry and just be okay with it. And
Yeah,
it's
like they
not
make
slanderous to think, if God exists, it's better than that.
yeah, like me and you, like we're different people, I guess. But like the thing is, like we like because I remember you said in another video that you have higher expectations of God. So why would God throw somebody in hell for having urine drip down in their freaking underwear because they didn't do wudu properly or they didn't do istinja properly? Like, I'm not gonna believe in that kind of God. You can go ahead and believe in that kind of God, but I'd believe in like a more rational, more like merciful, compassionate type of God, not somebody who's gonna be like, yeah, I'm only merciful and compassionate if you pray to me 5 times a day. You know what I mean?
Well, I still have a couple of questions for you from other
For sure.
viewers. Um, so Ahmed is asking, do you think part of the reason you stick to your Muslim identity is because of your family? If they were suddenly non-Muslim, would that make it easier for you?
Yeah, I think that's probably why. I mean, because like I kind of had to just like tiptoe around and just pretend I was making wudu like around my parents. That way they don't be like, "Oh, did you stop praying?" and blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it's because of like my family and just culture in general. Because I'm also Middle Eastern. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, like if I were to, I don't know, if I were to live on my own, I'd probably just do my own thing. I don't think I'd be practicing at all.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for answering that.
Mhm.
And Walmartin, great name, is asking, do you feel alone without God? That might be a fun question to ask. I don't know about fun, but it is a
Um,
good question.
Do I
Yeah.
feel alone? Not really. No, I mean, he doesn't really come up to my mind anymore. Back like when I was practicing, it was like, what would God think of this if I were to do this? Or, would he like it even though, would he dislike it? Versus now it's like, oh, okay. Like God. Like he's not at the forefront of my mind like when I used to be. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't feel alone. I feel like normal.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think what else, because you have a very interesting brain, and I just want to explore it.
I have
I'm trying to.
okay. I never heard that before, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I mean, you've said a lot of things that I would consider extremely blasphemous, but like you said, you still maintain a little bit of Muslim in you. And I'm not here to change that. Like I'm not here to tell you actually you're supposed to call yourself a kafir at this point. I don't care. Your label is yours.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm not sitting here like covering up the truth. I'm just, just giving it to you real. But
yeah, sorry, I got distracted by a comment, and it kind of ties into what I want to say here. Um, Lacock MSP Lalacock. Sorry, I can't read right now. Thank you so much, Aladdin. You're truly showing us the world. I'm even somewhat scared to post this comment, let alone you operating a whole YouTube channel. Well, I appreciate that, but I wanted to say thank you for the live chat. I wanted to say that it's enlightening to see that there are so many people who call themselves questioning Muslims or cultural Muslims or you know something with a Muslim label that are not what you would expect, because when you say the average Muslim or the median of what you think of a Muslim is, we all think of someone who at least prays sometimes and feels bad for not
Mhm.
praying and so on. But I guess someone can be a Muslim and can identify as a Muslim but be very far from what we think of as the average devout Muslim, I suppose. So that's good, because not that I think that people should discriminate against practicing Muslims,
Mhm.
but it is good to show the diversity among Muslims so that we don't just highlight the examples of one specific category, like the ones, for example, want to call and argue about religion. There are a lot of people like Dhul Qarnayn right here, who commit minor
Alexander the
blasphemy.
Great.
Yeah, you know the story. Yeah. Um, Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to point that out to people, that the point here is not to question you to the point of getting you out of Islam or something. It's just interesting to talk to all sorts of Muslims and ex-Muslims.
No, yeah, I came here out of my own volition. Like it's not like, you clickbaited me here or something, or like because I legit like second guessed like coming here. I was like, man, like this guy's probably gonna ask me tough questions, and this guy's gonna probably like give me like Richard Dawkins type level questions or whatnot. But I mean, honestly, like it was better than I thought. But yeah, so
What a glowing recommendation. I'm gonna clip this. It was better than I thought.
hell yeah, let's go.
Chat clip this, please. Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. That's good to know.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
because
I
I
guess
also agree with your like political views.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you're pro-Palestine, and AP is pro-Israel because I don't know, like maybe that guy just hates Islam that bad, or like I don't know, but like I feel it's kind of cringe, to be honest, how he just like switched sides and decided to activate, like just post his like political views like that, even though his whole channel was built on like leaving a religion. So it's just kind of weird. But I mean, it's really none of my business, and I'm not a YouTuber either. I just kind of wanted to put that out there. But I give you more like respect because you're more like mature, and you're not like as kind of like childish as he can be sometimes. Stooping down to the level of like a child and just making petty comments and just stuff, making fun of Islam. Like, you know what I mean? So I kind of just want to
I
give you
appreciate
props for that.
that. Thank you. I'll pay you after the stream, for putting in the good word. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Seriously, I've been getting a lot of comments about that specifically, and I haven't been asking people to comment on this topic, by the way. And I'm not going to say anything except thanks for sharing your thoughts on this. Yeah, I think I've said what I wanted to say before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have anything else unless more people have more questions for me. I'm happy to answer them.
I guess one last question before you go. Mushi's asking, does he chat with his friends about his beliefs? Does he get a lot of pushback?
Actually, not too long ago, I think about a month ago, I hung out with some of my like non-Muslim friends, and majority of them are like Catholic, raised Catholic, Christian, and whatnot. I'm in the U.S., so, but it's not like they're like devout practicing regardless, but they're just like born and baptized, so they don't really care about religion, more secular. So I think like one of my friends asked me, he's like, "Hey, like what's wrong? Like you look like you're deep into thought." And I'm like, I'm over here thinking, like why does why is the Quran supposed to be like for all eternity yet? Surah, Surah Nisa verse 34 exists, and it's supposed to be meant for all time, and it cannot be morally wrong, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, oh, it's still a revelation from God. Like I know I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, but like you need to believe that like you still believe that Jesus is kind of like has a prophetic status, but like so you won't burn in hell forever, but like God still exists and blah blah blah. And they were trying to like trying to like get me to like still remain as a Muslim even though they were Christians. So I was kind of like, no, like, dude, you don't know the Quran, like you haven't read the Ahadith. All you know is like from your local pastor of like believe in Jesus, get drunk Saturday night, go to church Sunday morning the next day. That's all you guys know. Like, please don't, like, I don't mean to insult Christian. I'm just saying like that's how they live here. So it's like, please don't talk to me about religion. Like I have my own thoughts and doubts. Like you're just gonna like, like I appreciate the help, but but it was just kind of an interesting moment that I had a while ago. It's just Christians trying to like explain monotheism and just justify, stuff like that happens in the Bible as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not holding back today.
I don't care.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm really like blunt. Like I've been holding this shit in for like the past like 8 months, dude. Like it needs to get out at some point.
well, how do you feel now that you've let it out?
I feel a lot better. I hope my parents didn't hear that because I might get disowned, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, I guess we'll find out, just like you said earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is an invitation to you and to everyone here, by the way, and to previous callers. You might want to join our Discord server. It's a perk of the membership to the channel or Patreon, so consider becoming a Discord member. And I suppose Mushi is inviting you specifically, so that's a compliment.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll check it out. I have a Discord, so yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was good
thank you
talking
so
to you,
much
AA.
for deciding to call. Yeah, it was nice talking to you as well.
No
And
problem.
yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day or evening.
You as well, man. Take care. See ya.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. Thanks again to the caller. So, little behind the scenes confession. I almost ended the stream several times accidentally because I'm not used to this interface. But here we are. We're still here. So, I guess I only have one comment to address before I get to the last caller. Skate is asking, does Aladdin play video games? Very rarely, unfortunately. And my computer doesn't do well with video games. So, I've been invited to play video games with another YouTuber that I really like, but my computer can't play those games. So maybe in the future I'll build a gaming computer. Who knows? All right, taking the last caller, MoonFox. I hope you're ready because I'm adding you to the live stream now. Hey, MoonFox, can you hear me? You are muted.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm okay. How are you, Aladdin?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you want to talk about today.
So, for me, I was born and raised in Iraq, and well, my family was uh, pretty religious, let's say that, and well, like I was, they, how do you say that? Like they were pretty insistent on teaching me like the religion and the practices and all, but I never seemed to grasp any of those concepts, and I even barely practiced, like never at all. But like it still affected me in a way. For example, like since I barely prayed, my mother used to hit me and justify it with the hadith. اضربهم ينصرون 10 سنوات وهيك شيء.
Mhm.
and and
But you didn't. So did you ever believe, or you just practiced because of your family?
when I believe, like kind of believed when I was very very young, like up until I was 11, and I started wearing the hijab. I started like rethinking all over it, and then I continued practicing just for my family and for just to not be excommunicated from everyone else, because it's hard.
hmm So what is keeping you as a Muslim today? I think the answer is obvious, but I would like to hear you talk about it.
Um, it, it's mostly family. I think you figured it out already.
Yeah.
It's it's mostly just like my mom, because she she always like gets really sad and frustrated when she remembers that I took off my hijab because I did. But like she keeps like mentioning that, she keeps mentioning that I don't pray and all of that, and it it makes her feel like hurt and angry. But for me, like I don't want to change those things about myself, because I don't want to do something that I don't believe in, but at the same time I don't want her to be hurt, because it's my
hmm
mom after all. So
So you feel guilt tripped into
yeah,
practicing.
exactly. Like she always says that it's because of me that, for example, my sister is not not wearing a hijab now, and like she's wearing like she's wearing whatever she wants, or like it's because of me that she couldn't um like realize her dream of like having two practicing daughters, and and like doing the practicing their religion with them and all of that. But I don't know, like she can have expectations, I think, but it's like we don't get all of what we want in life. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Have you ever told her something like that? That we don't all get what we want in life?
I do a lot, but well, there is no talking with her. She's the typical Arab mom, you know.
So tell us more for those of us who don't know. What do you mean by the typical Arab mom?
So like it's mostly tough love, let's say, but like the tough part outweighs the love part. Like
Hmm.
especially since like we're not just Arabs, we're also like West Asians, so that also amplifies everything. So like we have to be perfect in every single way, so like we can be the face of like the whole family and have the honor of the whole family and represent everyone. And only one mistake can destroy like not only my image, because well, I don't really care actually, but like for example, she when I took my hijab off, she since we like immigrated and my family also like lives like back in Iraq and all, like she refused to send my pictures to our family members back there for like a couple years because she said like it will bring her dishonor because I took off my hijab. I don't know if I'm going like in a spiral, but
No, I
that's how.
understand what you mean.
Mm.
So it's kind of alienating you from the rest of your family
Yes,
because she would be ashamed to show your pictures.
exactly. That's it.
And what did you tell her when that happened?
Well, I I felt hurt, but I couldn't dare speak up a lot because when I tried to speak with her before about like a lot of stuff, like I either like um asking about things or like maybe asking religious questions and being terribly let down. But like I know that whenever I ask her, it doesn't go well, so I kept it for myself, and thankfully it went well afterwards. My family saw me without my hijab, and they were more accepting than than she was. So
Hmm.
I'm
And
sure
then
she,
did she mellow out a bit? So would she then send your pictures to your family after that?
yeah, since they accepted, so quote
Hmm.
unquote. So now she wasn't dishonored. Like for her, it's only like the vision of like the look of other people.
Hmm.
In fact, like if they don't see a problem with it, like yeah, okay, you go do that. If they see a problem with it, no, you're gonna dishonor the whole family.
That's unfortunately something that keeps a lot of people in their belief systems, not just Islam, but it is obviously very strong in many Muslim communities. It's what would other people think?
Exactly. Like I think it's way harder when it's not you who's thinking about what others think, but like it's someone else who's holding you back. Because personally, I actually like didn't care. I was like, if they see me without like a hijab on, or if they see me like not praying or not doing anything, I don't care. It's my belief, it's my life, and I didn't practice anyways. So where is the difference? But like when it's let's say a higher figure, quote unquote, like your your parents, and like mostly in Arab regions, like our parents have a lot of power, so like we can't really have a lot of free will in this. Yeah,
So
I don't know.
what's the hierarchy? So there's you, and then there's your parents, and then above
Yeah.
that there's society and other people.
Above that, there is like the grandparents, and then society, and then obviously God.
hmm
Yeah.
And I know that some people might say, well, this is not real Islam. That's not what Islam says should happen. I don't think the point here is that you're saying this is exactly what is in the Quran, right? It's just the
No.
reality that you experience.
Yeah. That's it. Because
Well,
like
do you know,
Mhm.
you're not in Iraq right now, right?
No, I immigrated.
Okay. Do you have other people around you who are from a similar background and are going through something similar?
Actually, yes, and this is what caused me to like reflect on it like now more recently, because now since I'm in university, I see like many people with me who are like from Algeria, Morocco, and all those countries, and like you see them and they say that they are atheist or agnostic, etc. And like I look at them and like just think how did their families like allow it? Like how can I gain this superpower? Teach me your ways. But then like I kept thinking about it, and I don't know, like I kept doing research by also watching like a lot of your videos where you talk like about the hadiths and all the things, and I keep searching, and I think I will just leave it all together. I mean, it won't make any difference
It won't make any difference to what?
to how I used to live before. Actually, like the only difference would be that I won't be in constant guilt and fear of something that I don't like totally believe in, because like for example, this is like um the very simple example that I can find. Like before I like I eat all, like halal meat and all, but sometimes I don't care, and I also like go in Korean restaurants or something and eat non-halal meat, and like when my mother finds out, she gets really mad. But for me, I don't really care. But I did
Mhm.
feel like a tiny amount of guilt. But now, more like what difference will it make other than the fear will just start to go away really slow.
Is the fear that you have,
Mm,
you obviously mentioned the fear of your mother and her feelings about it and her religious ideas about it.
yeah,
But do you fear God or religion in any of this? Or is it just about your mother and other people in your life?
you can say that because of how I was raised very deep in it. I still have like this fear of like this higher being, because I still think there is a higher being, but I don't know, like just like the last caller mentioned, like there are a lot of questionable things. Mm, so I don't know, but like there is like a bit of fear that I might be like disappointing not just my mother, but like some higher power. But then I think about all the other stuff that don't make any sense but are considered sin. I'm like, well, mm,
Um, I have a question here that is from one of the listeners,
yeah,
and I'm wondering, are you taking questions? Are you okay with taking some questions?
yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Because I know how I would answer that, but I want to know what you would think about this. So Abud Hajjaj is asking, Islam brought a lot of amazing things to our people. Prophet Muhammad is the most influential person in history. Why would you leave all that when you don't have anything else to believe in? What do you think?
Honestly, I don't know, but I feel like all of what I was like I grew into was mostly culture, and like I do agree, like there are some good things that it's brought to our like Arabic communities, for example, like a brotherhood and things like that. But I don't know, like what I don't know if this is the right answer, but
There
like
is no right or wrong answer. It's
like
just your thoughts on it.
like
Mhm.
the last period of time, it like any mentions of practices or any like the this last Ramadan, I was forced by my mother to go to Taraweeh, and I left with I was so this like قلبي كان مقبوض. I don't know how to say that, but it was so tight. Like
Like you're afraid.
yeah, I didn't feel at ease at all, and
Mhm.
so since it's stressing me out, I don't know.
Mhm.
Like
Can I give my thoughts on this question?
yeah,
So, first of all, yeah, Mushi says that's so relatable. So I think that there's several parts to this comment. Islam brought a lot of amazing things to our people. That is debatable, but obviously there are good things that happened in our history
yeah,
that may or may not have had to do with Islam. But even if they did, there are a lot of things that brought us good things. I mean, this is going to sound bad, but slavery has brought other people good things, or people generations down the line good things that they have benefited from that slavery. And I'm not just talking about Islamic slavery, but for example, slaves being used to build railroads in the United States, that has brought good things to a lot of people. It doesn't
hmm
really say anything about slavery being a good thing. Um, and so, if there were good things that came about because of Islam, that still doesn't really pertain to the caller's beliefs or her situation with her family. Um, Prophet Muhammad being the most influential person in history, again, someone's large influence doesn't really mean anything in terms of whether or not they're worthy of being viewed as an idol, or whether or not we should take their word as Bible, so to speak, or as Quran. Um, and why would you leave all that when you don't have anything else to believe in? I think that's sometimes believers view as if they're in an ocean that is raging, and they're on a ship that is called Islam. And if you're not on a ship, you're going to drown. That's how they view the world, possibly.
hmm
So if you're not on this boat of Islam, where else are you going to go? But in fact, sometimes you realize there's an island right there, and you can keep hopping between islands and ships. It's not that scary, as scary of a world as we're told that it is. So you don't have to have a definitive answer about what to believe in, or a theory about the world, just so that you can abandon one that you don't find compelling, or don't find as self-evident as some believers think it is. So I can see where the person asking the question is coming from, because to them, Islam explains the world. But it sounds to me that you never really believed that deeply in Islam, just as a
no,
child, maybe, but past that, doesn't sound like you have.
no, never, never actually.
So why do you think you didn't believe in Islam at the time?
Um, like actually, there were a lot of reasons because since uh, since I was young, I had like a lot of questions all the time. So I used to like ask my mother about the things like that we hear in in this يعني in that we do like in culture or in Islam, like for example, why can't I do this, but my male cousin can do this, or like why like when I grew up, it was like why should only women wear the hijab, or like why للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين, or why, like a lot of these things, and her only answer every single time was to get angry and says like it's like that, or we never talk about that. And for me, I actually think like if you ask someone a question and they already like get in the defensive, that means like they either like don't really believe in this, or they don't have an answer. So I wasn't even convinced as a kid. I was like, well, that doesn't sound right, and the parent figure doesn't have an idea about it. So, well, we're doomed.
Well, okay, let me put my believer apologist hat on, and I will say, well, maybe your mother is just not the most knowledgeable Muslim. Um, what if there's someone out there who has the answers that you could consult before giving up on the faith? What do you think?
Mm, I actually don't know, because, well, a lot of people in my family are religious, and I asked a lot of questions. And in Iraq, we had like uh, Islam lessons, like in school. Like
Mm.
that also taught us like a lot of theory and a lot of facts, and all that. So, and like when we asked the teacher, it was also the same kind of same reaction, or they will give you like an answer that is not very logical. Like I know kids are not the most intelligent people on earth, but they're not stupid. Sometimes they can think and like see that this doesn't sound very logical. Like,
Yeah. So it's not just your mother, it's that several places you found the same sort of answers.
yeah, exactly.
Well, that is that is something that I hear often. This idea that maybe you didn't get the right version of Islam. Maybe if you keep digging, you'll find the answers that you're seeking. When did you stop digging for answers? And if so, when did that happen?
I stopped like for a long while, because I don't know, it just gave me anxiety. Like I just said, I will just follow the very bare minimum and just live with it. But for me, like looking for uh, for answers, like the most intensive period was, it was only these last few days when I was like, I I really want to leave. Like I kind of have to leave. I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
And what does leaving look like? What would change about your life once you leave?
Actually, that's one question that I don't know. Like I said before, it won't change much because I didn't practice. But yeah, that question is a bit hard. But like just
So, mhm.
like just feeling at peace, I think, with me and
So you're
myself.
saying outside it won't change your behavior, it won't change your, I guess, your beliefs that much, but you'll
Yeah, not
feel
much.
at peace.
Yeah, I already started feeling at peace when I like started doubting these last few days, and like I did some things that I wasn't really allowed when I was feeling like guilt tripped and all. Like I wore whatever I want. I ate non-halal meat, and I didn't feel anything. I was like, I'm as free as a bird, I guess. I like it. So
Well, congratulations on that feeling of freedom. I'm happy
thank
you
you.
feel that way. You know, one of my my first major sins was thankfully I was at the point where it wasn't about eating halal meat. Like I thought, because I'm not in the Middle East anymore, I can eat
Yeah.
halal meat. I just have to say Bismillah, or non-halal meat. Sorry, I just have to say Bismillah first. But obviously, I can't do that with pork. But
Yeah.
I broke that rule eventually, even before officially leaving the religion. One day, there was a pizza place that I went to, and usually they had halal toppings for the deal, but that day they didn't have halal toppings for the deal. So to save a few bucks, I just said, you know what, just give me the pepperoni one, and I just ate it, and I didn't feel, I was expecting something. I was expecting some big reaction, or I just
Yeah.
wanted to see what would happen, and nothing happened. And it's almost like putting your foot in a pool to figure out how cold or hot it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, of course, that doesn't mean, like, there could be a reality where Islam is true and you eat pork and nothing happens to you, and Islam is still true. But I think it's more about just shattering that fear that we've had of breaking the superstitious rules and doing something we're not supposed to. Um,
Exactly.
so I'm glad that you felt that way and you've broken that barrier.
Thank you. I'm glad for you too.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a while ago. Who would have thought that I would go from that slice of pizza to this live stream? Subhana wa al-ahwal, as they say.
Oh la la.
Yeah. Um, was there anything else on your mind that you wanted to share?
Um. Yeah, but I don't know if it's very relevant, but it's one of the things that made me like one of the major strikes that made me really ask like that, does God hate us? So like let me explain. Me, I'm a very underweight person, and I have like I have a clinically diagnosed eating disorder, like a type of anorexia. And because of that, like every single Ramadan is like torture for me, because after that, like I literally can't eat even when the hours that we have to eat, like, or we can eat. I just can't eat in them, and then like the days afterwards, I would just like suffer and have so many deficiencies and all that. But then when like my mother sees me or any members of my family, they just say like, think of other people who have it worse than you, or like you're not really sick or something like that. But then this Ramadan right there, when like I skipped like a lot of days of Siyam because I didn't feel well. But when I like started to pick it up again, I had a very I had a very huge pain, and turns out that because of it now I have ulcers or a gastritis in my stomach. So thanks Ramadan, I guess. And it's
Well,
because of that. Like I think does God like hate us? Because I don't know if I'm not like never too sick to not fast, then when like should I just die because of sickness or something? I don't know.
yeah, that's a point of contention that sometimes, Muslims say, well, God says that you don't have to fast if you're not able to,
Yeah,
but how do you know that you're absolutely not able to? Um,
exactly.
so there are a lot of these situations where, like, have you tried, for example, telling your family members that I'm medically not able to, I shouldn't be fasting, or did you not ask
Um,
that question?
multiple times, and like I have many doctors that have told me across the years that you shouldn't fast. You're way too underweight. It will kill you. And then my mother hears it and just says like, well, they are Westerners, they are non-believers. You should go talk to a sheikh or talk to a Muslim doctor. But when I try to do that, it's like, why are you trying not to fast? So what do
Hmm.
you want me to do?
It's
I don't
guilt
know.
tripping, I guess, that even when you have that permission from, that permission from a Muslim doctor, you're seen as deficient in religion because you're trying to take the easy way out, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you fasted then and that it hurt you, but hopefully going forward, you don't have to be in that situation anymore.
Hopefully. Hope so.
Well, you said that this seems like it's very recent. You said over the past few days it's been on your mind,
Yeah.
and you're thinking about leaving. And we talked about what would change when you leave. You said not very much in terms of how you behave, but it's just
Yeah.
that relief.
Mhm.
Do you feel ready to make that change soon?
Actually, I think I started kind of to dip into it. Like I'm feeling like more and more at ease, but I don't know. I'm still scared of my mother, obviously, but I think I'm already like a bit ready to finally just affirm that I I just want to leave. I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
And
And how do you feel about that?
actually, very very happy. It feels like a lot of weight and guilt has been taken away from me. Like I just feel calm, like
Mhm.
way calmer than the countless times my mother told me, like if you're feeling stressed, just play the Quran or go read it. No,
Mhm.
no, this is making me way more calm.
What do you hope for in your future?
In what terms exactly?
I guess anything that would pertain to the topic today
Mm,
of religion.
Well, I just hope that, like, if ever my mother finds out, she will let it go eventually, but this is impossible. It's like maybe just I just hope to live like however I always wanted. That's all. Like without the guilt and the fear.
Mhm. I'm happy for you that you're coming to that realization. And again, to clarify, I've spoken to multiple people today, and the goal is not that by the end of the call they will all leave Islam, inshallah, or inshallah, shaitan. It's more like I'm happy that you found that peace, and to you, that means, I guess, recognizing that you don't believe and admitting that you don't believe.
Thank you. It actually also feels good to talk about it because like the process of like doing research and thinking of such existential questions can be draining, but
Mhm.
thank you for giving this opportunity and this live stream. You're doing amazing.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm glad that you were able to call today, and thanks for waiting. In queue, there were a lot of people before you, but I
Okay,
appreciate you waiting the whole time.
thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you
Uh,
called again. Again, I want to say that I'm glad you called, and yeah, thank you. And I hope that it's only upwards from here.
Thank you. I hope so for everyone. I guess.
Hmm.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, have a great rest of your day and take care.
You too. Take care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Thanks again to the caller. Um, I want to read a couple of comments and then we can call it a stream. It was a very chill hangout today, so thank you everyone for being here. Sometimes I sometimes keep an eye on the numbers, like how many people are watching. Sometimes we get a lot of people all of a sudden because the algorithm is doing its thing, and there are people who are here the entire time for the whole stream from beginning to end. not to mention the moderators and the volunteers. So thank you to those people as well. But it blows my mind that I'm effectively talking to a what's it called? It's like if I walked into a university and walked into one of those lecture halls and it's full of people listening to me and listening to the caller talk. It feels small and isolated at some times because it's a live stream and the numbers don't look that big. But when you visualize how many bodies that is, how many real people that is, that's a lot of people. So thank you everyone for being here. This has done wonders for my public speaking skills, by the way, even though you're not all here and I can't visualize a whole classroom full of you, but it still helps. So I'll read some comments. Mr. Atheist says, it's not that you have to deconvert your family, etc. It's getting them to accept you. Sounds like you'll have to treat them like a wounded animal. I can't remember if it was about this caller or a previous one. I wouldn't say exactly like a wounded animal. It depends on the situation, depends on the parents. But the takeaway here is that you do feel the need to treat them with special care, and not just that you have to be considerate of their feelings. You have to be extra considerate of their feelings. You have to accommodate for them in ways that you wouldn't do for an adult about any other topic. It's difficult, and you feel a lot of guilt sometimes. You feel a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, so it's not an easy position to be in. But eventually, you find a way, because living a double life and lying the entire time, that can't be good for you, and it can't be good for your relationship with the people that you're trying to protect. So eventually, you find a way to be yourself to whatever extent you're comfortable with, that they can accept. John P. says, I feel for religious people so worried about death and the afterlife that they miss the wonderful life we have. All the sounds, the views, the experience of life itself is so much better. That I don't think that applies to every single religious person, but I do see enough of that it is sad to witness when you see people so preoccupied with the afterlife that they miss out on many things in this life. And funny enough, you hear them saying the opposite. They look at people like me and they say, you're so preoccupied with this life, when you're dropping the ball, you're missing the big prize, the afterlife. And I wish I grew up with a well-adjusted idea, a realistic idea of how much life I actually have, because the disappointment that a lot of us feel when, I budgeted a life for hopefully, 80 something years of being alive on this world, and hopefully an eternity of being in heaven. And then you rob me of all of that. And I'm not saying you to anyone specifically, but you, the disbeliever in me, you robbed me of an infinity lifetime. Of course, I'm not angry at myself. It's just the realization that the infinity afterlife doesn't exist, or probably doesn't exist. So it would be nice if I grew up with a more realistic expectations of what life is. It really skews, the afterlife really skews our value of this life. So please value this life while you're still here. Abraham says, I know you don't want it, but I would love to see you spice it up and debate TikTok Muslims like the old days, or even debate AP. I've said before, I don't think debates are very productive for the kind of thing that I want to do, but I am open to talking to more spicy conversation participants. They can call my channel. They're always welcome to. It's entertaining when it happens every now and then. And if you think there's someone where a conversation between me and them would be beneficial or interesting, please do let me know. Leave a comment, not just a live chat, but a comment after this video ends. Leave timestamps after this video ends with like your favorite moments, or if you're watching this offline, I love it when people do that. When they put a timestamp in the comments to their favorite moments, I love that. So do all of that stuff. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you to the patrons, YouTube members, and donors for making this happen. I could not do this without you. And again, a shout out to the Discord server. If you want to be a member, just join as a patron or a YouTube member and link your account. Links are in the description. And lastly, I want to plug it again. If you would like to have a conversation like one of these conversations, but you don't want to be live streamed or recorded, or you want to talk more comfortably for longer, check out the links in my description as well. You can book a one-on-one session, and if you can't afford to pay for it, sometimes there are free sessions as well. So check out the link in the description. Thank you again, everyone. And as always, think critically and think for yourself.